good you gave us a warning video.
That's right. Alright, we're good to go. Okay, so let me give you a little background on this speech. This is a part of assignment that I have for a cultural diversity and communications class at Dartmouth College, which is where I'm working for my associate's in English degree. And the assignment was to interview someone from another culture. So being that our neighborhood is as diverse as it is, I had a lot of options here, and I opted to interview our neighbor Brett and find out more about the Czech culture because he's from the Czech Republic. So this will be based on the premise of my interview that I had with him. For my cultural interview, I was privileged to interview a neighbor and a friend of mine, Brett Smollett, who is originally from the Czech Republic. I learned from our interview that while the Czech Republic does contain urban areas, there are many areas comprised of small rural villages. These villages enfold tightly knit communities, and the Slavic culture is rich in celebrations that reinforce their daily life. And while today's Czech culture is largely influenced by the European community, the recent past for the Czech people included a blended marriage between religion and communism, and that was intertwined with their family traditions. Our neighbor Brett comes from a family that included his parents, 2 sisters, and his maternal grandparents that all lived together in the same home. Their home was in the village of Slavichin, and that's in the district of Moravia in the Czech Republic. In fact, when you ask him about his social identity, he will distinguish himself as both Moravian and Czech. And I even have some visual aids for you guys, some pictures of the area that he's from. This is not actually from his individual village, but it is the region he's from. That you can pass those around and look at them. But they get both extremes, just like we do. They have seasonal weather, and that's a picture showing both spring and during the winter time when they have the winter sports.
That
and
looks like a heavy-duty winter.
Yeah, they do. They get quite a bit of snow in the winter. And his village is small. It has only about 300 people in it, but it is a sister community to several other towns nearby. Now, vocationally, they're trained in high school for a skill or trade specifically for their career, and that's part of their high school education. Brett's father's trade was that of a machinist, and his mother was a very talented baker. Leisure time focuses a lot on outdoor activities, but also includes the sports of soccer and ice hockey, obviously with all the snow they get. Life for these small villages is based around their close families. Today, both of his sisters and their families live within 100 kilometers of his parents' home. And although he enjoys life in the United States, the thing he misses most about the Czech Republic is being able to see his family often. Now, during my interview with Brett, I learned several things that changed my perception about the Czech culture. The first thing that I learned was that there are many practicing Catholics in the Czech Republic. Because their nation had been under communist rule for many years, it was my assumption that the Czech people were discouraged from practicing any religion. However, even during communism, Brett's family attended the local Catholic church. He fondly recalled how a couple would negotiate with the priest to move up a wedding date, and he also shared a memory of a time when the village priest was removed because an informer had told the mayor about some social events that the priest had been holding for youth in his home on Sunday evenings, and that was something that they disapproved of. So while the practice of Christianity was allowed, they kept it in a sense of balance. The second thing I learned about is holiday celebrations, which were new to me. Now, the Czech children each celebrate their birthdays like we do here in America, but they also celebrate their name day. Each of the 365 days of the year has assigned names, and whatever a child's name is, they will celebrate with a party and gifts on the day of that particular name, as well as having a celebration on their birthday. Now, he told me that the name Joseph or Joseph is so popular that on the name day for children named Joseph, a local band will go from house to house playing music during all these celebrations that are going on. In July, yeah, I know, it must be. I'm glad my brother didn't know about this because his name is Joseph, and he probably would have tried to talk my parents into an extra celebration at our house. In July, they celebrate what they call the coming of Cyril and Method, which were 2 missionaries which came to bring Christianity to the area and the alphabet of the Slav language, and this occurred during the 9th century. This holiday, again, is based upon a Catholic tradition, which revealed the importance of Christianity to his family. Now, the last thing that I learned about was concerning the foods of the Czech culture. Many families have a garden, and they'll store their harvests in a cellar for preservation. And popular recipes include pork dishes of any kind, sauerkraut, and dumplings. However, The most famous of their locally produced foods is plum brandy. Known as Slivovitz, this plum brandy is very popular, and they even use it as a type of currency in bartering. I was, however, a bit surprised to learn that the children are allowed to drink it, even though it can be up to 50% alcohol.
Wow.
He had a bottle of it that he volunteered to let me taste, and I don't drink very much, so I said no. So he said, here, you want to smell it? And it smelled a whole lot like vodka to me. Okay, I think I'll pass, thank you. But actually, I brought a little picture of a bottle very similar to the one that he showed me, with the little symbolism of the plum on it. That's all it had on it. It didn't have any particular label of any kind, just a little plum, and that was it, the clear liquor in it. Now, one of the reasons why plum-based foods are popular is because it's something they can locally grow and distill themselves. Tropical fruit is a really rare treat because, one, we have to wait in line. He said the only time they ever get that is at Christmas. We would wait in line for like an hour just to get bananas. It was very unusual. My personal favorite of the foods that he mentioned was a treat called kolache, and he described it as a pastry that has a center with farmer's cheese and raisins and vanilla sugar, and he, of course, swore that his mother made the best. So I thought that was kind of cute. Although I learned new facts about the Czech culture from my interview with Brett, I also learned about the communication process itself. I based my questions upon basic home life for me in the United States, looking for similarities as well as differences in the lifestyle. I also asked and was grateful to receive correct spellings of unfamiliar names and places, although I cannot promise that I accurately repeated his pronunciations. The biggest thing I learned was that if given the opportunity to share about what is special to him and his culture, my friend was quick to generously accept and be open with all answers to my curious questions. This proved my theory that when I take the time to interact with someone outside of my own culture, I very much enjoy what I learn and experience.
All right. Yes,
Kolaches
indeed.
is great, by the way.
Are they?
We
You should have tried this one.
I turned down a bad opportunity.
Yeah.